This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with that prize guy. I am delighted to be joined with one of Ireland's newest professional boxers, heavyweight boxer, Daniel. Let me see. I'm going to try this. I've attempted to say it offline. Fakoyede.
Fakoyede, yeah, you're 90 days. There's a Y there instead of the R.
I'm
So
nearly
Dr.
there.
Fakoyede, yeah.
Let's see him in the interview that's going to take us before we get it right. But it's obviously
Yeah.
it's been a few weeks, I think, obviously since your announcement. Obviously, you're turning pro with obviously Jason Quigley and Share Sports. Is a sort of, I guess, in some ways, is a sort of buzz sort of wore off a wee bit, and obviously back to work and sort of preparing for your debut. You're sort of past that initial buzz of turning pro.
Yeah, so it was just it was something that was in the works for a good while, but we just waited until the right time that we thought that was the right time to announce it, that it was gonna turn pro, So we're still waiting on a date, because we do want to have the debut over here in Ireland so I can get, all my supporters and even just the Irish scene in general to kind of like get an eye for me when I first come into the scene, and I want to come all guns blazing. So we want to make a statement on the debut that there's a new lad on the scene and he's not here to take part, So yeah,
The Conor McGregor motto: "Not here to take part, I'm here to take over."
yeah, definitely. Just because in 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 anything I do, I'm not I'm not one to just settle for being, average or being, the reason why I'm going into this game is because I know I can do well and I know I can go far in it based on, I've only just been in this game. I'm 27 now, so since I was 21 was the first time I laced up my like the first pair of gloves, and it's only been an upward uh, trajectory, So I have a lot more improvement to do. I have like the ceiling for me is like way 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 higher than I even expected I even thought, So I've just been taking it as it's coming, and it's only been upward since I started, and I'm loving the game as time is going on. I've really built, a strong love for boxing, for the sport of boxing, not just to box myself. Because before I even started boxing, I never used to be a fan of boxing. I never used to watch boxing. I just knew I could fight. I was just a street fighter, and I wanted to start boxing, to keep fit and to learn how to fight properly. Because I couldn't throw a proper punch, but I was about 40 and now on the streets, without knowing how to, throw a proper punch, So I wanted to, get a bit skilled and, learn discipline and just keep fit, after I finished college and that. So, but as soon as I got in, just because of the type of person I am, I'm very competitive. I'm always hungry to do well and to succeed. And if I find something that I'm good at, I'm gonna try and see how good I can get in it. And if it takes me somewhere, happy days, So that's where we are now as a professional boxer. And I never expected to get here, but life is funny, isn't it?
It is like at
Yeah,
21 years of age, I guess. Obviously, you've done your study and stuff
yeah.
like that. Like, what changed for you? Like, was it something you seen on the TV? Was it a person you sort of met in person? Like, what changed that just said to you, "I want to go and do boxing"? Like, was it just a mad notion in your head and going, "I want to be a boxer"? Like, what changed for you there?
Not even. I never like. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not one of these people who was saying that. Oh, I. It was always my dream to go to the Olympics or to be a world champion since I was 8 years or 8 years of age or anything like that. I just like I was a casual fan of boxing. I'd watch the odd Anthony Joshua fight, but that was pretty much it. And didn't really have an interest in boxing. But I always lived right across from a boxing club, Westside Boxing Club in Tala. Like literally, it takes me 30 seconds to cross the road to go into the club. But when I was younger, my mom just never let me join it because she just had a bad idea of boxing that's dangerous to get hurt and it's going to make you fight more on the streets rather than teach you how to there was just a bad notion about boxing or a bad idea of boxing in my mum's head. So it was kind of like when I got into college or when I finished college, and like I'm a man now and working and stuff like that. I just wanted to try something new because I was playing basketball before, and when I came out of college, I just completely lost passion for basketball. So I just wanted a new challenge, something new. and I knew that boxing was good for keeping you fit. I had a few friends who were in the club. I'm pretty sure you interviewed Boyo at the weekend there in Belfast. So yeah, he was. We went to the same secondary school, so I always knew he was a boxer. So I just came down to the club one day, and from then on, you couldn't get me out of it, you know.
Like, but like where you're saying, obviously, where your mum and stuff like that, I was thinking that it might get you into more fights. Like boxing does the total opposite of that. It probably makes you probably, I guess if somebody want to throw a punch at you, you'd move out of the way. You
Mm.
probably know as a boxer, it's like if I throw punches at you, you're not going to stand on your feet. So, like, boxing sort of gives you discipline, it gives you a sort of purpose, it gives you a meaning. Like, it's probably the total opposite from what people sometimes on the outside, sort of looking in, think of what boxing is.
No, 100%. Because I was very like I wasn't a bad kid, but I get up to mischief sometimes, and I was very quick to, scrap. I wouldn't be someone who would talk or argue or go back and forth with someone. It's like, okay, you're trying to do that. Let's have a knock, like to settle it. So, there's a stage where I just got to the point where no one wanted to fight me anymore, and sometimes I just wouldn't fight for so long. I wanted to know if I still had it. You know, I just got a buzz out of fighting all the time. So when I joined the boxing, it completely was a 360 for me because I was sparring like weekly or however so often. I didn't really get that itch to go back onto the streets to fight, and because I knew that I have the technique, I knew what I could do to the average person on the street. I wouldn't be as fast to escalate to a fight as I would before. And it kept me in a routine, which is one thing that is very, very important in my life. I'm able to do so many things at the same time. I work full time at the moment. I'm also training as a professional boxer 6 days a week, twice a day. I also recently became a father as well. So I have a son there as well. So if my life wasn't structured and routine, coming back from my amateur days, like there wouldn't be a chance in heaven, like I'll be able to do what I'm doing. So it really kept me structured. It kept me disciplined. It kept me from like going on the drink on the weekend when the lads are going on the drinks because I have sparring the next day or whatever. I wouldn't be able to do that, because it'd make me perform bad in sparring. So I always wanted to be on 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 the ball whenever I went to training. And it's something that was just in me that I just wanted to do my best and push myself to my limits. And that's what my coach at the time, Frank Stacey, kind of picked up on. And he put time into me to, take me sparring off the different clubs and stuff like that. And that's where I got my first taste for what the boxing game is really like before I even had my first fight. And so by the time I had my first fight, I'd already gone around England and Ireland sparring, so I had a bit of experience. So I was able to do well in my first few fights. But yeah, as I said, it really puts you in a routine. It disciplines you and it teaches you a craft which a lot of people aren't taught apart from school, apart from, a lot of people don't learn, respect, manners and stuff like that as you would in a boxing club. So it's kind of like a family home as well. Like a lot of lads that I would have trained with in my amateur club, they wouldn't have had, fathers growing up, but they come to the gym and the lads who are on the floor, the coaches and stuff like that, they'd be kind of like a father figure to them. So boxing clubs are a very vital part of the community, in order to raise, kids and to keep them from, turning, bad leaves or going down bad routes. It's really very, very, very important structure in communities, and um, it's needed everywhere, especially in areas like, talent, especially areas that are kind of considered bad areas, and they're very, very pivotal.
How are you finding, obviously, fatherhood, obviously being a new father? Like, are you finding? I always say that there's two ways you sort of really become an adult in life. One's getting married, and the other one's having kids. Like, how have you
Yeah.
found now having a child? How's that changed life for you?
Yeah, it's changed life for me a lot because I'm not doing what I'm doing just for myself anymore. I have someone else that's looking up to me. I have, obviously my fiance and my kid. I'm providing for them now. It's not just me. So it really, really throws you in the deep end in terms of taking responsibility for your life, you know. So now that I'm going into the professional world, it kind of seems like it was written in the stars that it was meant to happen this way. I just had my baby in February, and I turned pro in May, you know. So it's kind of like already put me on a straight path for when I do go into the pro game, for me to, you know, keep my head straight and not to, you know, be tempted here or, you know, tempted there by partying and girls and stuff like that. I already have my kid, I already have my family, you know, I'm going to be getting married soon, by God's grace. So um, it's something that I've had to step up into, but I've been doing well so far. So, you know, it's the best feeling in the world also to come back home after a day's training and see, you know, the missus and the kid there, you know, and playing with him and stuff. I get to spend time with him and stuff like that. So it's really, really opened up a different side to me and a different hunger as well. So everything that I'm doing, everything I'm gonna do in my life from now on, it's gonna be for them, you know.
It's in some ways it's sort of retaliate. It sort of comes back to the boxing. In some ways, it's sort of every day is a learning day. Like obviously being a father, you're going to do things
Yeah,
wrong. The kid's going to cry. You're going to do things right. You walk out the door, the kid will cry. The same with boxing. Obviously, there's times probably you're sparring and training. You're going, "What am I doing this for?" You have your good days, your bad days. Like
yeah.
life, sort of a lot of this all reverses around itself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm just like I've never been here before, you know, so it's just I'm learning on the job, you know. And obviously when he was first born, I didn't even know how to hold a baby. Now I'm holding him in one hand and I'm playing with him and stuff like that. So it's really, really good. It's really, really heartwarming to kind of see, even from my point of view, but like even I have family members and friends pointing it out that like, you know, they're so proud of me that like I make it seem so natural and stuff. And even just seeing it for myself, you know. It's something that I'm warming up to as the days go by. You know, I'm learning, and I want to be the best example for him as well. So I have to be careful what I'm doing, and how I'm talking, the things that I'm doing in front of him and stuff like that. So because I'm an example, I'm his first example, and since it's a boy, he's going to be looking up to me more because I'm his father. You know, so it's really, really it's given me a different perspective on life, you know. But look, this is a part of life that I've always wanted. I'm here now, you know. So I'm loving it so far.
Talk to me obviously about your amateur career. Obviously, you've had success, you've had knockouts, you've obviously had defeat. How would you sort of, when you look back at sort of what you've done as an amateur? Obviously, I think you won about 3 or 4 box cups. You won the Leinster Cup. Like you've had plenty of success as an amateur. When you sort of reflect back on your time as an amateur, was it always because you were saying you're never really looking at the Olympics and things like that? Were you sort of always looking at it and going, "There's going to be a point where I'm turning pro, so I'm looking at experience," or when did it cross your mind to turning pro?
So my amateur career was literally me just taking it as it came at the start, you know, because me coming into the boxing game, I had no clue about anything. You know, I didn't know, so it was me looking up to my coach, you know, as to, you know, where the next step was going to be, you know. But I take it as it's coming, you know. I won my first few fights, which were actually in box cup. So my first 7 fights were all in box cups, and I think my amateur record is like I have like a 60% knockout ratio. So I knew I had power. I just obviously since I was new to the game, my technique was all over the place, and I still had a lot of learning to do. But I knew I had the, you know, natural ability and the raw tools that it took to be a good boxer, you know. So it was only kind of when I started sparring pros that I I thought that, you know, oh, I could actually do this to a good level if I'm able to keep up with the likes of these guys, you know. My first spar with professionals when I went over to America. I have family in America, so I was in Philadelphia and I just went to a boxing gym. I said, "Is there anyone for me to spar?" And they asked me to go down to a gym the next day, and it turned out to be Boots Ennis gym. And there's a fella in there that apparently was like 7-0, and he had some crazy hype to him, and they were just telling me to keep my hands up when I was in there, and I was like, "What?" So then I sparred him, and I was able to like I put it on them, you know. And then after they started asking me, "Oh, where you from? How many fights do you have?" And I thought they were talking about like amateur fights. I was like, "Oh, I have like 4." But but he was a pro. I didn't know he was a pro, and they were like, "Oh," they kind of just like interested in me and stuff like that. So, but then when I came back a few months after that, I started sparring Thomas Carty, and he was the one that kind of told me that you could do something in the pro game, because I was just new to it. I didn't like. I'd expect everyone to be miles ahead of me because I only started so early at that stage, and I didn't believe in myself that I was good enough. Before that, to go pro, I was only kind of looking at the amateur thing as a sport to keep me fit, and as it's coming, I'll just take it as it's coming. But then when I started hearing from pros that you could do something in this thing, then I started considering it. So the more I started sparring pros, and the more I started getting more experience, falling in love with the sport more and more. That's when I realized that I can actually do something in this. So it was only like 20 like at the beginning of 2024 that I actually considered going pro, and I was going to be working towards it. So it's only like it's only been what, a year and a half now at this stage where I considered going pro. But at this stage, um, I know I can do big things on the world level, not even just domestic level. I know I can do big things because I know what I possess, and I learn so quick. If you see me now, you'd have thought I've been boxing for 15 years, 10 years, but I'm only like 5 years. If you minus the years that COVID took out from training, it's only been, what, 2021 since I've been boxing, so not even 4 years at this stage. But you wouldn't notice it. So my ceiling to improve is still through the roof. So I'm just taking it as it comes. But I know that I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. I'm a Christian, so I believe in God's plan for my life and destiny. That my path is already written for me. So the reason why I'm here, it's down to God. God wants me to be here. So I'm going to be here for a reason. So it's just a matter of time for the rest of the people to see that. I know what I've got, and it's just only a matter of time before the rest of the Irish scene sees it, or the rest of the European scene sees it, and the world. Then. So I'm loving it so far. I'm just eager to get, like, I'm getting itchy knuckles now to just get out there and have my first few fights and stuff like that.
Like whenever people's telling you, like when you were still an amateur and things like that, and people's telling you like you're good enough to go pro and everything else like that, like it must have done crazy things to your mind where you're going, or are these people just saying this? The way someone would tell you something just to be nice to you, and then they'd say
Yeah,
something else behind your back. Like, was that doing things in your mind where you're going, am I good enough? When you're sort of going, I'm only at this a couple of years, am I actually good enough? Was it doing things in your mind where you're going, you know, do I think I'm good enough? Because I guess sometimes we're our own worst critics, and you're probably thinking to yourself, "Am I good
yeah,
enough?" Did it spin your head so much that you were sort of going amateur pro, amateur pro? Were you sort of in two minds with it all?
yeah. Because some of the lads who I was training with, or some of the lads who knew me, like, from the area, they were impressed with the footage that they seen in my fights and stuff like that. And they were saying it to me, but I was just kind of like brushing it off, like it's probably because I'm one of the only few heavyweights in the country that's what they're saying that. But when it's coming from people who are actually in the game and know like a talent, when they see a talent, then it was only then when I kind of started thinking, oh snap, like this could actually be true, like. And then the more I started sparring pros, the more it dawned on me that I'm able to keep up with these fellas, and even in a lot of cases, like put it on them. And these lads are like British level, or these lads are former world level and stuff like that. So that's like, the more I get in with these lads, and I'm seeing that I'm able to hold my own, and even more than that, it really boosts my confidence, to believe in myself, and to, like, actually think that I can actually do this. So it's just, as I get more experience, I trust my skills, and I trust my ability, that I know what I'm gonna do when I get in there. Before, it was kind of like, I'll be a bit nervous. Is this fella powerful? Is he? But now it's just like, what can I do? What can I land on him first, kind of thing. I want him to feel my power first. I want him to see the speed first, and then he's going to be confused, type of things. So the more I'm improving, the more I'm getting more experience. I'm able to back myself because I know I have the tools. Whereas back then, I was very limited in my boxing ability, so it was kind of hard to see it at that time, you know. But as I said, I'm a fast learner, I'm a quick learner, and once things clicks, then it just becomes part of me and part of my, part of my form, part of my, it just becomes natural, and I'm able to flow with it, from then. So once I'm able to flow with it, and it's part of muscle memory, it's second nature to me. Then by the time I start building up my arsenal, then it's gonna be like who's next type thing, you know. So that's just what it was for me, you know. And once I started getting the cosign from lads that are in it, that was what was like, oh, so it is true what people were saying before. So yeah.
And you're as a pro now, you're going to be based in Unit 3. Is it Niall and Arias that's going to be training you?
Yeah, so Noah's my head trainer. Iris is one of the coaches who I do train with also, but Noah's my main head coach here, there at Unitary. So that's where I've been based in there since December. So and I've been seeing massive improvements since I've been there, especially with my fitness, my technique, my speed as well. Because I train with the likes of Gary Cully's, Boyos, Kelsey Leonard's and stuff like that. And Noah doesn't Noah doesn't tailor things to my needs or my because I'm a heavyweight. He doesn't make me do less, or he doesn't make me take it slower. I'm still training at the same intensity as the lightweights and featherweights and bantamweights and stuff like that. So I'm seeing massive improvements, and also I'm naturally athletic as well, so I'm able to keep up with these guys. So that's one of the tools that I can see that I have, and not only is kind of bringing those parts of my game out that I didn't know I had there. So yeah, I'm loving it so far at Unitary.
As Bayo was saying to me in his interview on Saturday night, in Unit 3, they're assembling the Avengers. So obviously they're building up quite an army there. Like Unit
Yeah,
3, there's everything. Like I would nearly classify Unit 3 as like a Butlins holiday park. You've got everything that you need. The only thing you probably don't have is a restaurant in it. You have a coffee shop, you have the
yeah,
recovery, you have the gym. The only thing that's
yeah.
probably missing there is a restaurant, maybe a bed, but it's got everything. But
There's beds upstairs, believe it or not.
is
There's
there?
actually beds. There's bedrooms upstairs in the gym. So when the lads like Paul has a fight, instead of because he's coming from Tullamore all the time, so instead of him going back and forth, he probably just stays in one of the rooms. Like if he has two sessions during the day, in the morning session he'd train and then he'd go chill out in the room upstairs for a few hours and then come back for the second session. So they basically have everything there. It's a stacked out facility there. They have a recovery unit there as well, where you have your saunas, your cold baths, and jacuzzis and stuff like that. They have massage parlors, the yoga classes upstairs. They run fitness classes like on the floor, boxing. So there's like literally everything. So you don't have to go out of there during the day because basically everything's there for you. So it's a great facility that we have up there, and also great boxes as well. One of the reasons why I wanted to join them is because of the great stable they have. So one thing for me is that if I'm training with people, I want to train with people who are going to push me above my limits that I think I have. So when you have the likes of Paul, Gary Cully, Boyo, Kelsey Leonard, Adon, Byrne, working hard, and you're thinking of giving up on the exercise you're doing, but you look and you see the lad like killing it, you're going to be like, shit, I have to continue now because the level is there. So you're always trying to maintain the level all the time. That's the standard of the gym, and I believe for me to be able to get to my peak, I need to be in a gym that has standards, and that's going to push me to my limits, and that's what I've been experiencing so far. At Tree. So as you said, the Avengers are assembling. We're still powering up. We're still loading up. You haven't even seen anything yet. So better put on your seatbelts, buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Since obviously you've started boxing at the age of 21, obviously you're 27 now. Like, how is have you become religious? Like the fact that you're everything's boxing now. Like you're watching loads of boxing. You watch a lot of heavyweights. Do you watch a lot of boxing now that you're an actual boxer?
Yeah, my missus was even just saying it the other day that she's like she's learning all the boxing terminologies now because like I watch it every day when I get back, and sometimes I fall asleep and it's just playing there on YouTube in the background, and she's watching it, so she knows a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have even known like in my first 2 years of boxing, just because I always have it on in the house all the time. Whenever there's shows on in Ireland, we're going out to it. Whenever there's a show on like on the TV, I'm buying the pay-per-view for it and we're watching it together, you know. So it's like everything that I do is centered around boxing. Even like my my everyday life, everything has always since I started boxing, it's always been centered around my boxing. If someone clashes with my boxing training, then I can't do that, you know. And I've always been like that since I started boxing. It's just that when I really, really enjoy something, I dedicate myself to it. And I want to be as knowledgeable on that thing as possible to be able to bring out the best in myself, you know. And I'm all about, you know, seriousness, dedication, discipline. So in order for me to perform to the best of my ability, I have to have knowledge or something. And obviously being in the gym is one thing, but also doing your study, your film work and your film studying and your own like diving into, you know, old school reels and old school boxers and just building your own style as well comes from watching boxing as well, you know. And one of my favorite boxers, or my favorite boxer of all time is Lennox Lewis, but I also really liked Riddick Bowe and a few other boxers in the past, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson's, but Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis is who I base my style off of. And I wouldn't be doing that if I wasn't, you know, spending hours and hours watching boxing and proper immersing myself in boxing, you know. So I love it at this stage. That's all I watch, that's all I listen to. I listen to Talk Sport and boxing segments like literally every day. So it's literally centered in my life at the moment, you know.
You sound to me like you're addicted to it. How did the link up come about with Jason Quigley and Sheer Sports? How did that come about?
Uh, it came about through I think we connected on Instagram. I think it was after one time I was sparring, I think it was Thomas Carty, and he followed me. He just asked me, "What's your background, like, and what do you plan on doing, and stuff like that." And obviously, like the boxing community in Ireland is small, and people talk, so he's obviously asking about me to a few people and stuff like that. And he heard good things, obviously, which is why he wanted to work with me and stuff like that. So I was able to like, you know, have a few chats with him. We met up one time also to just have a chat, just to get to know each other and see what they're doing. And he also let me know that he was taking over the European side of things of shared sports, and he's expanding it in Europe. And that, you know, sounded good to me, sounded great to me. And so I was just able to relate a lot more with him because he's been there, he's done that, he's boxed on the world stage, and he knows what it's like to be a boxer. So he'd be kind of taking me and leading me from a boxer's point of view because he's been there, he's done that. So Jason's a lovely fella, you know. I have a lot of time for him, and I think he knows what he's doing. You know, he's built a great stable of boxers at the moment. You know, I think he's signed Keen Hederman, Reese Owens, the lads up in Donegal as well, Cahill and Danny as well, and he's a lad over in Scotland as well. So I believe that these lads are gonna really, really flourish under him. You know, so it's just only a matter of time. You know, because he's obviously just gotten things, you know, off the ground, in terms of like, you know, his boxers getting off fighting and stuff like that and starting the career. So only time's gonna tell, you know. It's gonna be successful business partnership together, you know. So I'm looking forward to it.
I guess obviously the thing isn't use the itchy knuckles as well. You want to get fighting. I know there was potentially a fight date for the debut at the start of August, and I think that card sort of fell by the wayside. When are you hoping to make your debut?
Yeah, Jason's always working on, you know, potential date for me, but we want it to be one that's gonna be you know, hopefully in Ireland, and one that's gonna be, you know, that's going to get me the exposure that we need in order to make a statement on the scene. So he's still doing his work in the background. That's his job as my manager and stuff like that. So hopefully this summer we can get out before the summer ends. But if that doesn't happen, then we're obviously going to have to go back to the drawing board and see what we can do there. But definitely, I've been getting itchy knuckles since last year. I want to get out. I want to get my career off the ground and running. So hopefully before the end of the summer we can get out. But obviously there's nothing in concrete at the moment.
Finally, obviously, then just before I let you go, obviously, I know you were in Belfast, obviously, the Devonish watching Bayo's fight the other night.
Yeah.
How do you find that the atmosphere of obviously going to professional fight cards? Like, obviously, now that you're going to be becoming a pro and stuff like that as well, you're probably already picturing what the atmosphere is going to be like for you walking out yourself.
Yeah, this is something that you go to bed and you stay up for like half an hour, then you should just imagine and trying to picture in your head how it's gonna be, like what the song's gonna be. Am I gonna move a bit? Am I gonna dance a bit coming out? What's the reception gonna be like? Who's the people gonna be there? So it's something that obviously I'm dreaming about, daily. That's why that's one of the reasons why the knuckles are getting itchier by the day, But yeah, it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to and that I've already pictured in my head and stuff like that. That's why the first fight, at least we wanted to be a big one, because I have a lot of people that are going to buy tickets that want to see me fight. And as I said, I've lived a few different lives in the past with the music, and I've gone to college and I played basketball and stuff. So I have a lot of different people that know me from all my different parts of life that want to see me in my new journey in life, and they're like all for it. So just waiting on a day, and everything's set in place. I've got my kit and stuff ready already and stuff like that. So I'm just looking forward to when the world can see me and doing my thing. So yeah.
Definitely. Well, look, Daniel, obviously it's great to obviously get you on for first chat. Hopefully it's going to be the first of many. Obviously, congratulations, obviously, again on turning pro. And fingers crossed, Jason can pull the finger out and get you some fight news very soon.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Thanks
Cheers,
so much
Daniel.
for your time. Yeah, take
Cheers.
care.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.